Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, One Piece chapter 999 is out. If you guys haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. Oda held absolutely nothing back in this chapter. You know, maybe it's a meme at this point, I don't know. When I read One Piece alright, I'm into it like that. When Oda's hitting me with those feels, I'm feeling it. This was another chapter that made me tear up. I don't even know why it happened, it just did. It defies logic. And we'll talk about it in a moment. I just have the overwhelming sense that much of this chapter was important. Not just the headlines, not just the reveals, between the lines, between the panels, there's stuff Oda is implying and alluding to that's just as interesting to talk about as Kaido's devil fruit. But let's just go, in whatever order it comes to me. The Ace flashback was amazing. I said this beforehand, I didn't know what the payoff of this flashback would actually be. You know, maybe that in and of itself implies that the flashback will be short, and that was true, it was, but the actual payoff was genius. Not everybody can make something out of nothing. Oda can. Just a bit of a side note here, I'm reading a book right now called The Shadow of What Was Lost. I think that book lacks a bit of what Oda demonstrates here, subtlety and nuance of the craft itself. No offense if you enjoyed that book, I am enjoying it, but you know, if you want something manga related to maybe compare this to, Black Clover is something that comes to mind for me. Black Clover understands what people want. It knows the tropes. It brings the action, chapter after chapter. Go, go, go. Big fight, cool moment, epic reveal. It's similar to The Shadow of What Was Lost, which is like plot, plot, plot. You don't get to breathe, and that's why people like it. There's zero chill. But as somebody who's experienced all of these tropes and twists and reveals done multitudes of ways, I enjoy an author or an artist that can make something amazing or emotional in a way I never would have imagined possible, and I don't immediately recognize or anticipate. The whole idea Oda was working with here is the seemingly inconsequential reveal that Ace was Luffy's brother and Roger's son. We've known this for 10 years? Why did it make me tear up? I'm not really sure I fully know. But it was like a totally different experience. When Sengoku dropped those bombs in Marineford, I felt hype and excitement for Luffy, literal tears of joy that our guy had made it to the big stage and was being recognized. That was the emotional draw, I felt like. You know, he's connected to all these great characters. The same reveal. This time I think that the emotion was more for Ace, Tama, and Momonosuke. Like, yeah, Luffy's got you, Ace. Rest easy, bro. Your little bro is holding the fort. It hit me like a freaking truck. That made me tear up. Like I said, guys, subtlety and nuance, mastery of the craft. The same information presented in a totally different way from another angle, and I feel that emotion again. I'm not sure I'll ever explain this right, but I hope you understand what I mean. I really enjoyed Ace's flashback. I think actually I might be able to explain this better by reflecting and explaining the chapter title. This chapter's title was The Sake I Brew While Waiting for You. We've analyzed and overanalyzed Binks' sake before, and I take sake to be a metaphor for dreams in One Piece, also brotherhood, connection, togetherness, life itself, that sort of thing. Like sharing sake cups among the world of pirates makes you brothers. Delivering Binks' sake means going on an adventure to fulfill Binks' dream, inherited over time, bringing the world together, one piece. In the middle of the flashback, Ace couldn't stop talking about Luffy. Yeah, there's crazy, strong pirates coming up across the world, but the one who's going to surpass them all, it's Luffy, and he hadn't even set out to sea yet. I think that you might be able to say, in a way, Ace was waiting for Luffy to join him on the sea in the New World. The sake Ace brewed while waiting for Luffy was these connections he had made along the way, his life itself, which Oda drew in this chapter. Ace's flashback. Now Luffy will deliver Ace's sake. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Luffy has inherited Ace's dream, his will accomplish that which he left to the world, which metaphorically is described as delivering his sake, which he has brewed in this chapter. The sake I brew while waiting for you is Ace talking to Luffy. In the panel itself, Oda depicts Ace and Yamato holding their sake bottles up together beneath the moon, all while laughing. Today and tomorrow are dreams through the night, waving our goodbyes, we'll never meet again. But don't look so down, for tomorrow night the moon will also rise, going to deliver pink sake. Essentially, translation here is, good night, Ace. Don't worry, I'll fulfill the promises that you made. Which should also remind you of Joy Boy. There's also a little bit about fates here. There are as many pirates as there are stars in the sky, and among all of them, you found Luffy. I mean, even his name carries the initial D. I think Oda is subtly and vaguely connecting the initial D to fate. As Yamato says this, he is actually holding Oden's journal, events proceeding so far as Oden had envisaged. Fate. Again, also, I want to remind you of Joy Boy, and the prophecies or whatever relates to that. The whole point being that this is a chapter that is very, very much related to the inherited will. And the chapter itself, I think, by nature reminds you that even if you fail in your dreams, somebody else will take up the cause. So eventually, your wishes, your wants, they will occur. It's just a matter of how long you have to wait, and whether or not it is the will of the people. But if you're looking for an actual theory here that relates to the future of One Piece, this chapter, more than any chapter before it, I think, tells us that the things Ace left Luffy to accomplish will be accomplished. Tama 100% is going to join the Straw Hat crew. I don't care if you don't like it. For whatever reason, it will happen. I feel that strongly about it. That was part of Ace's promise, the sake he brewed while waiting for Luffy, that Luffy himself is going to deliver. Wano will be saved. You don't frame it like this unless it is absolutely going to happen. I'm not saying that it's going to happen in the way that you anticipated, but it is going to happen. Wano will be saved, and the people fed. Yamato obviously will be freed, and will set out to sea just the same as Oden. Oda stopped short of straight up implying that Yamato's going to join the Straw Hat crew. I'm sure that a lot of people are going to probably argue that even more after this chapter. But I think that it can be read a little bit differently, so I might as well do it while we're here. Ace says, it's unfortunate you're so strong, and we get along so well. So I ask, why is that unfortunate? Obviously, we'll wait for the official translation, maybe the translation missed the mark, but I gather here that Ace has decided Yamato is too strong to be a subordinate, so she will eventually be free, she will eventually set out to sea, but maybe as a captain of her own ship. I mean, again, Ace said in this chapter, so you're not the captain, you're strong enough to be one. I more so get the sense that maybe Ace viewed Yamato as an obstacle. The strength here that he was concerned about is, I don't want you joining my crew because I want to defeat you, and then grow from the challenge. It's a shame I like you so much. So I think that what is actually said in this chapter more so implies Yamato for Grand Fleet. And I very much expect Yamato to share a cup of sake with Luffy at some point, just like every other member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet have. And just as what happened with Ace in this chapter. But for you, Yamato for Nakama people, I'm not saying that you don't have any chance. It's just that Oda didn't specifically imply it here in this chapter. Oden also wanted to be free just the same as Yamato. He was also determined to leave Wano, and he did so by hitching a ride and eventually joining an existing pirate crew, the Whitebeard Pirates. Yamato channels that Oden energy, obviously, and Luffy, I think, won't be deterred by Yamato's strength as maybe Ace was at this time. Honestly, if we're power scaling right now, I think Luffy is stronger. If we're power scaling Ace and Yamato at the time of their fight, I'm not so sure. But yeah, I also thought that Oda had a really good answer for why the Whitebeard Pirates didn't avenge Oden, and waited 20 years to protect his homeland. If you don't remember, some people were big mad when they found out that Ace had been to Wano. Essentially, if he went there, he would have discovered Oden's death, meaning the Whitebeard Pirates had no excuse to not declare war on Kaido and Wano and just get revenge. As soon as Ace learned of Oden's fate, why didn't they do anything? The fatal mistake here being the assumption that they no longer had an excuse to avoid the place. Just something that I want to remind people, and remind myself sometimes too, only the Sith speak in absolutes. There is almost always a way. The way Oda explained it in this chapter, it seems as though Whitebeard had not enough desire to go to war with Kaido, even knowing that Kaido had killed a member of his crew, because of their fears concerning the war. The lives lost in Wano because of it. You don't necessarily save Wano and Oden's people bringing a fight of that scale to it. And my honest gut feeling is that Whitebeard figured it anyway. In addition to this, I think that I also have reason to believe Whitebeard never, said this, but it's my headcanon. Whitebeard feared losing his crew, his family, which was his treasure. Serious Yonko fights are no joke. Fighting Kaido is not the same as fighting Roger, and we all know it. When Whitebeard fought Roger, they stole literal treasure, but that was never either of their actual treasure, what they cared about. What Whitebeard cares most about was his crew, his family, and that is very much on the line when you fight against Kaido. If Queen's and Jack's use of biological warfare is not evidence enough of that, then I don't know what to say. I've made theory videos over the years essentially speculating that Whitebeard was holding the throne after Roger died, being an obstacle others would have to cross to become king, essentially preventing other people from becoming king, protecting the throne for the man Roger thought would bring the next great war, save the world. The person he believed was his son, Ace. I really believe Whitebeard avoided conflict when he could, with all of the Yonko in his later years after Roger had died. The only fight that felt worth risking his treasure, his dream, his family, was Ace himself. In the end, in Marineford, as Squardo accused him, Whitebeard played favorites with his children and was always counting on Ace becoming king and being the one to change the world. Maybe to the point of actually holding him back from his destiny. The reason I say this is there's a low-key detail in the chapter. Ace speculates that they might be able to win if Marco and Izo go with him. Obviously, Ace wasn't strong enough then, but being strong enough at a particular moment has never mattered much to Luffy, for instance. You could say the same thing about Luffy right now, but obviously in the end, this is going to be crucial to Luffy becoming, what he set out to become. Luffy grows enough to meet the challenge. Maybe Ace could have done the same. Maybe Marineford goes differently if he had come to Wano and had fought Kaido. I just get this low-key feeling that maybe he wasn't quite free enough on the Moby Dick to reach his full potential in time. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy died anyway, so why not have sought every opportunity to become stronger beforehand? I'm going to elaborate on this in a video really soon, but I guess the whole point is that, a lot of people might be down in the fact that I'm saying, well, Whitebeard feared something, but I think that this is important to One Piece. I think fear holds back every character that isn't named Luffy. I don't know exactly what this is for everybody, but for instance, with Whitebeard, he feared losing his family. I think that somebody like Big Mom fears being abandoned by those that she loves. I think Zoro fears defeat, but not death. I think Teach might actually fear death. I think Kaido might fear being unable to die. I think the Marines in general fear pirates, so on and so forth. I'm not too sure about Shanks, but the point is that by the end of the story, we'll have a clear understanding that what makes Luffy special, or at least a part of what makes Luffy special, is his, for the most part, an ability to feel fear. He can feel fear, but he's strong in that regard, and does not make decisions based on it. And ultimately, that's what's going to set him up to become the king of the pirates and save the world. I think that to some extent, maybe, Ace feared letting Pops down, or being ungrateful. But before we move on, I found it really interesting. Did Yamato cut off the head of that dragon statue? Like, Yamato definitely cut it. You can see where it's cut. I think that was cut right through the neck, and the head fell to the ground. I think that's what we're seeing in the panel. Oda kept this kind of hard to notice, to be honest with you. He's being a bit shady here. Why is this not more clear? But anyway, then I assume that after Yamato literally cut off the head of the statue and it fell to the floor, Ace melted it. The theory that Kaido is going to get beheaded just got that much stronger, if you ask me. I still refuse to believe it, but this may just be a case of me being stubborn. I'll try to reevaluate that, but, if Kaido's gonna lose his head, the only person who makes sense to accomplish this feat is Zoro. Again, if you ask me, am I being, actually turned here? Man, I guess so. I can't bring myself to actually believe it. But I can say, definitively, if it does happen, ZKK, Zoro kills Kaido, the clues will have been there 1,000,000%. I can't think of any other reason why Oda would have been so deceptive about Yamato cutting off the statue's head. And the way that it's drawn afterwards is clearly hiding this, if that is what happened. And you guys also know that Oda loves his parallels. I think that this scene highly foreshadows the fact that Luffy is going to punch Kaido in the head with a fire ability. Whether this is Red Hawk or a completely new ability, I'm going to leave you to decide, but think that there's even more evidence now than there was yesterday that maybe Luffy's Gear 5th or a new Gear 4th form or something is going to be fire related, or incorporate the fire abilities that he's already demonstrated. But yeah, I know what people want to talk about. They want to talk about Kaido, or Koido, the fish. You want my opinion in 2 seconds, the reveal is perfect. I think that there's still some potential for more cool stuff soon, but either way, Oda outmaneuvered literally everybody like a boss. How to immediately take an L when after the last chapter you said Oda needed to step up his game. This is how we do it. But I guess the question is, at least for me, and reading around at least a few others, why is Oda still holding back? We've known for 80 chapters for sure that Kaido is a dragon. It is now officially official that he is also a devil fruit user, mythical zone class fish. But the specific type of fruit is still not revealed. When the devil fruit box inevitably drops, it will drop probably very soon. Kaido as a dragon no longer moves the needle, I don't think. No one's gonna be hyped that Kaido is revealed officially as a dragon. A dragon zone, I should say. Because we already know that. Personally, guys, I think that Kaido's exact fruit name will be the Uo Uonomi, the fish fruit mythical zone model Ryujin, dragon god of the sea. If you want to Google Ryujin, feel free. I think that some people's minds were blown out of the freaking universe after this chapter, maybe didn't connect a fish fruit to his dragon appearance. But in Japanese mythology and Shinto culture, dragons are often, maybe even usually, associated with the sea. They are sea gods. This is because of Ryujin. As much as I love to get crazy, let me tell you guys, I love to get crazy. Kaido the living dragon, not a human, a dragon, with a different and crazy mythical fish fruit, I think is probably not the case. I think the easier answer here is that Oda has simply classified Kaido's dragon form as a type of fish. Essentially here, Kaido is Gyarados. The mythical powers of Ryujin and Kaido as a dragon I think match really well, aside from its appearance itself. Bringer of rain and thunder, capable of summoning storms and influencing the tides using magical stones called the Tide Jewels. In addition to this though, obviously it could breathe underwater. In fact, its palace was built underwater, and that is where it lived. It also has the ability to shapeshift into human form and could control sea creatures. We'll get back to this. But overall, has anything really changed from this reveal alone? Kaido was a dragon in the last chapter. I think that he's still basically a dragon after this chapter. Introducing fish class of zones doesn't change the game like, for instance, maybe a water devil fruit might. Simply because even as a fish, he would still be weak to the sea because the element of the sea that counteracts devil fruits is sea stone, or the energy of the sea. So even as a fish, he could breathe underwater, he still would become weakened by it. And if you guys want clarity here as well, I mean, Luffy has been underwater and he didn't become not rubber, right? He just was drained of his energy. So in a lot of respects, fish zones are probably useless. They don't really give you what it is that they could, because the advantage of fighting underwater is totally removed. But man, what is it satisfying anyway? You know, people don't get this. I explain it all the time. I love being wrong. It's like, you like being wrong, bro? It's like, yeah! Which is also helpful when it comes to speculating about One Piece all the time. The reason is because I love being surprised. I also love trying my best to, and devote all my energy to trying to predict the truth and creating headcanon to satisfy my impatience for not knowing answers to various mysteries that I'm interested in. But the way that you get the best of both worlds is having something solid to believe in and be confident in, and still being satisfyingly surprised. Introduction of fish zones at this moment absolutely blindsided me and gave me what I wanted, you know, aside from the satisfaction of saying I told you so. But even with all of this, and again why I like this so much, is you still have little cracks to speculate on and be excited about. You guys know, you're ready for your tinfoils, wear your tinfoil now or leave. I've got a question for you. Do you know of any Zone Devil Fruit users who has had a child? I'm looking for confirmed canon Zone Devil Fruit users, or even paramecia types whose bodies are fundamentally changed, like Luffy's for instance. He's not just a person who's consumed a rubber devil fruit, he is now rubber. Anybody like this who has conceived a child while possessing said fruit confirmed. As far as I'm aware, this has never happened before. The first example of this assuming that Yamato is Kaido's actual child. Yamato would be the first example of this. Essentially, guys, the question on my mind is what would happen when a man with a mythical Uo Uo no Mi model Ryujin had a child? Would that child inherit Ryujin DNA? We've essentially learned, as of the New World, that there's a relation between devil fruits and DNA. Lineage factors, as they are called. Oda has teased Yamato's teeth already. Looking at them now, could they be fish-related fangs? I think so. Does Yamato have some other type of fish fruit? I think that does make sense. Or does he have some of Kaido's devil fruit within him? I want to ask another question. From where have the minks and fishmen spawned in the world of One Piece? Essentially, how did they become fish-like or animal-like? I told you earlier, I like to get crazy. You know that about me, and that's why you're here. So I'm going to throw this one out into the abyss. Is it likely? Probably not. Is it awesome? You best believe. Maybe there's a good theory here about how devil fruits may have transformed and diversified the One Piece world. First introduced when Yamato reveals himself to be part dragon god, but without the fruit itself. It just seems plausible to me. And then you go down the rabbit hole, start thinking about the distant past, inherited through time. Among the Fishman people is the ability to control the Sea Kings. If Fishman's origins began through consumption of devil fruits, fish-related devil fruits, and the children that they had when they consumed the fruits, then maybe there is an old Ryujin bloodline, existing from the Ryujin devil fruit, from thousands of years in the past. The castle at the bottom of the sea, Ryugu Palace, in mythology is the domain, the castle of Ryujin, the dragon god. We actually see Ryujin, dragon god itself, wrapped around the palace. Of course, in the world of One Piece, Ryugu Palace is the domain of the power of Poseidon. The power to control sea creatures, or in the world of One Piece Sea Kings, could also be the power of Ryujin, making Kaido through his devil fruit maybe another version of the ancient weapon, Poseidon. He is a living ancient weapon. What this could mean for Yamato, I really don't know. Again here, Momonosuke with an artificial dragon fruit that seemed to be designed based on Kaido's. He can control Zunisha. Is that because of himself, his own bloodline, his own powers? Or did he get this ability after he consumed the fruit? We don't know. Could Shirahoshi also command Zunisha if given the opportunity? Have we been confusing all of these powers because they are the same power? Would this take away from Shirahoshi, or does this add another element of chaos that we all know that we would want? Big Mom sort of teased this, but we still don't understand it fully. She says to Kaido, "I am the one who found and gave you this fruit. You owe me a lifelong debt." Why would Kaido owe Big Mom for a fruit? Maybe the fruit itself saved his life? But it appears as though Kaido actually wants to die. So I'm not sure how much that makes sense. Maybe the fruit is even more powerful than we currently think that it is. It would be hilarious though, I'm just throwing this out here. Ryujin has the ability to shapeshift and assume human form. Maybe the mythological devil fruit also has the same ability. So it'd be funny if the Kaido that we see now is not really how Kaido looked 40 years ago. Old theory of Kaido being a Napoleon-like manlet has life once more. The very small man uses his his powerful devil fruit to look a little bit bigger. Obviously, guys, the likely thing from all this is simply Kaido has a dragon fruit or something very similar that, he's a dragon fruit, okay? And we've seen his powers for the most part, although I want you to keep in mind the ability to control creatures because I think that that's interesting because of Momonosuke. Again here, the simple answer is Yamato just has a different kind of fruit, maybe another type of dragon, maybe another type of fish, maybe an entirely different zone just with teeth altogether, and that's what it is. But something like I've speculated here is like that next level Oda is fully capable of pulling anytime that he wants to. I'm preparing you. But I also want to discuss how I think that it's fitting that Big Mom gave this fruit to Kaido on that day at God's Valley. God Valley, we know, was the home of some celestial dragons. We know that the celestial dragons probably have or collect the vast majority of devil fruits and use them to wipe their asses pretty much. It makes sense for there to have been rare and important devil fruits at God Valley, maybe even devil fruits that were more important than the rest. I kind of create a headcanon in my mind. Essentially, for 800 years, the world government is trying to collect all the devil fruits because they don't want enemies to possess them. You know, especially the strong ones. I love the thought that Rock's attack on God Valley liberated hundreds of fruits that were consumed later by pirates, either then and there or somewhere down the line. Then I wonder, like, Whitebeard's power, called the most destructive devil fruit, did he come to possess it here? This ended up being, a great event the Marines and Celestial Dragons covered up, as the objects of legend devil fruits became something far, far more common. And maybe they lost some that they really didn't want to. Like Kaido's fruit, for instance. But yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say about that for now. Anyways, I ended up being wrong about Robin and Brook going with Zoro to the roof. Instead, what Oda meant was that Robin and Brook's opponents were not here in the courtyard, so they needed to go find them. A lot of people have said, and I am now firmly right there with everybody else, Robin's going to save Sanji from Black Maria. That seems she's going to be going up the building. I don't know who else she would be fighting. At least she will have the opportunity to intervene in Sanji's fight. Maybe Sanji mans up and says, no, I got this, but we'll see. As for Brook, I'm not really sure who he should be fighting. Maybe who's who. Jinbei could be useful elsewhere, just the same as Sanji, so Sanji doesn't have to fight Black Maria, can then fight King or fight Queen, and then Jinbei doesn't have to fight who's who, then he upgrades. I'm not so sure that I like the matchup of Brook and who's who, but at this point, anything goes. But even despite being wrong about Robin, Oda did decide to humor me, and give me what I wanted anyway. Confirmation that Big Mom and Kaido are and should be interested in Robin. As I said, this is as it should be. Pudding's powers are not guaranteed to awaken. Personally, guys, I think that this ends up being a dead end. If Kaido and Big Mom win, of course, they'll grab Robin or attempt to. We may actually see that. But I still think Blackbeard gets the last zihaha here and becomes the one who threatens Robin the most. But we'll see what Oda has in store for us. This may just be the start of the trend. Nekomamushi warned the Struts that they would have to defend Neko Robin from everybody who would want to capture her, which now includes Big Mom and Kaido, obviously. There will be a moment of payoff. But yeah, let's finish this one out and touch on all the other small details Oda gave us in this chapter. Big Mom asked if Kaido's road poneglyph is in the flower capital, meaning she doesn't know where it is, which emphasizes that we should be asking this very same question. Again, I want you guys to check out Marco OPT's most recent theory on the subject. It's really good, but essentially he speculates that the road poneglyph is not even here in Wano, and that events with Kaido are going to lead to his favorite island. I also thought it was funny when Kaido basically told Big Mom, hey, it's not time for you to betray me yet. It's like, of course he knows. I'm expecting Zoro will make it to the roof in the next chapter. 1000, I think that we will find out the fates of the samurai, and Oda essentially told us in this chapter he knows what we are all expecting. Queen said they are probably dead already. Could Oda pull the rug out from under us here, or is he going to give us exactly what we expect? Kaido is just chilling up on the roof and has been for some time, so we'll see. The only way out for the samurai is if they decided to use Raizo's trapdoor to stall for time or figure out a plan or something. But I will go down to the very end, chapter 1000, we will see many Scabbard's dead. I thought that the Blackbeard cameo was cool. He thought Ace wanted fame for bringing down a top tier. I think maybe lets you know how he himself thinks, in terms of feats and accomplishments. A literal gun came out of Queen's mouth, that happened, and there seems to be a really good chance here that Queen is even more cyborg than he appears to be at first glance. It also appears as though Tama has some kind of plan, and I would wager my left nut it has something to do with using Kibidango to convert more Smile users. As we speculated a few weeks ago, Usopp sniping the Kibidango makes absurd amounts of sense, so that's what I'm expecting. Oda also reiterated that Queen's forces are at least a little hesitant to fight Marco and likely Chopper, the first who actually saved them and the second who's working on doing so permanently. I'm also looking forward to a lot of these people switching sides. But yeah, guys, this chapter was incredible. Like, I usually explain more in depth than I did in this video, but I had to for the sake of completing it. It was jam-packed. Every inch of it was filled with things to discuss. But yeah, as always, I'm curious as to what you guys think, whether you know something from the chapter that I might have missed. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.